Hello and bonjour. Today we will be talking about Quebec's Immigrant Investor Program. So make your questions ready and we will cover ins and outs of that program and what we foresee which will happen in January 2024, our predictions and our conclusions. Let's get started.
Just a quick reminder before we start. Please note that whatever you hear in these live sessions or any content you see on social media by Sabirov's law firm is general information only and not legal advice. While we may use certain real-life scenarios or legal cases for learning purposes, it is important to remember that this does not constitute a legal opinion. For personalized legal advice, please consult with your lawyer or hire a Canadian immigration lawyer. Now, let's get back to our show.
As usual, we start with news pieces that we think are relevant to you as potential business immigrants to Canada. News piece number one is the 2023 Fall Economic Statement by the federal government of Canada. It's a statement, it's not a budget, but it looks like it's a teaser to the budget of Canada. If you are a business owner who wants to come to Canada to do business and you want to understand the macroeconomic situation and intentions of the Canadian federal government, you need to read this statement. And it has a web version and the downloadable PDF version. I am still reading this and there are many interpretations. Mainly it focuses on housing plan and solving the housing problem in Canada. Many thousands of housing projects, housing units are being built and accelerated. So you will receive good information about housing. You will receive good information about macroeconomic trends in Canada. So the link is below this video and I suggest you get your very strong coffee and read this fall statement by the federal government. News piece number two is again macroeconomics. I follow this thought leadership website all the time. This is Royal Bank of Canada giving you a 10-minute take on macro trends that are happening in this country. So, for example, what's going on with the Canadian job market? 10 minutes, you will understand what's going on and how, for example, immigration affects Canadian economy, what's going on that front. These are little podcasts that I listen on my way to office every day. These are macro trends that you as a business owner and investor should be aware of when deciding to move to Canada or not. So let's get to our presentation now. These are our news pieces for you, and we are ready to present Quebec Immigrant Investor Program.
Are you constantly on the move, managing your business, and looking for a convenient way to stay informed about expanding your business to Canada? Look no further. Introducing Speaking of Canada, the podcast that keeps you in the loop on all things related to Canadian business immigration, delivering the latest news and valuable tips and captivating interviews, no matter how busy your schedule gets. Speaking of Canada has got you covered.
Quebec Immigrant Investor Program is perhaps the most popular program when it comes to passive investment immigration. So this is a program that has been paused, or some people say cancelled initially, but now it's being relaunched, or a new program is being relaunched by the Quebec Immigration Minister in January 2024. So whatever you hear in this presentation today are only the information that we know so far. In January 2024, the Quebec government will announce more details, but we know some information and we can share it with you today. But we will start with history, because this Quebec Immigration Program, Immigrant Investor Program, has a history. And history is very important in this sense. So Quebec QIIP, which is the shortened version of the name of the program, was launched back in 1986, when I was 5 years old, basically. It's one of the oldest investor immigration programs in Canada, if not the oldest. So there was also a federal immigration investor program which is cancelled. So we are not talking about the federal version of the program. We are talking about so-called provincial Quebec version of the program. There was a federal investor immigration program for rich investors seeking to settle in Canada, but it was shut down in 2014 due to concerns about its effectiveness. So taking the lessons from the federal government, then At that time, former Immigration Minister Chris Alexander said he shut down the program, the federal version of the program, because of concerns about fraud, and the money being invested just contributed to government spending. So that federal program was gone, and Quebec Immigrant Investor Program became the poster child of passive investment into Canada. It became very popular. Everybody wanted to go to Quebec, invest in Quebec, and become permanent resident. But as of November 1st, 2019, the Quebec Immigrant Investor Program was cancelled. So now we are talking about the second version of the program today. A revised program will now launch in January 2024. There was a lot of criticism that I will go through this, because understanding the criticism of that program will help us to predict what's going to happen in the new program by Quebec. So one of the criticism was that there were applicants mostly from China. Quebec's office in Hong Kong, for example, was processing the biggest chunk of those applications that was in the previous version of the program. That office, the Hong Kong office, was also shut down in 2017. So too many people have been deceived by the previous program in a way that many industry service providers in immigration, they were saying, okay, this, you can do this easily. You can invest and get permanent residence, as if the PR was for sale. That was the impression with the first version of the program. Now the Quebec government wants to reopen in January 2024 this program, but in a different shape and form. So with good intentions, it was good before, but have we learned the lessons? Let's see whether Quebec government has learned the lesson, and we shall see in practice as immigration lawyers whether we will learn from history and not repeat the same mistakes again. The reason why the original program, Quebec Immigrant Investor Program, was cancelled was it was really a British Columbia Immigrant Investor Program. Why? Yes, it was. I'm not joking. Well, I'm joking, but in reality, people who said that they would go to live in Quebec actually ended up in British Columbia. Why? Because people didn't want to live in Quebec. They just wanted the PR from Quebec using the province's immigration program, and actually they settled down in Canada. There's a CBC report and investigative journalism done on that program. You can find it on YouTube. I don't want to go into details, but the highlights of those reports and investigation was that it's a program that has lots of gaps, that permits people with dubious or even illicit business to launder money through the program and to buy themselves citizenships inexpensively. Said CBC report. That's a former immigration officer giving interview for CBC, the Canadian news agency. They were saying that according to data obtained under Quebec's access to information law from 2013 to 2017, a total of 1,783 immigrant investor applications were rejected by the province's officers in Hong Kong office due to fake documents. So the concern was fake documents, illicit money, source of income, and so on. The original intent of that program was a genuine good intent. However, the execution of the QIIP version 1.0 was not so good, according to our experience. And now the 2.0, the new version of the program, will be hopefully different. So the concerns were economic impact, whether that program did positively impact Quebec's economy or Canada's economy. They were concerned about Quebec, but overall Canada's economy. Critics argue that that program, the old version of the program, doesn't bring significant economic benefit to Quebec, did not directly contribute to economic growth or job creation. So economic growth and job creation is the primary raison d'etre, the primary goal of this program. Integration and commitment. As I said, there's a concern that many investors who use the Quebec program did not settle in Quebec permanently. They went to other locations like Ontario or British Columbia. Capital flight and money laundering risks, I mentioned already, that was the risk. And now let's see what the new program will do. Like other investor immigration programs, there are concerns about the origins of the funds being invested through Quebec Immigrant Investor Program. So that was the lessons we learned. Inequality and fairness. People were criticizing that rich guys will just buy their way into the citizenship or permanent residency, while other not so fortunate people will wait in the line to become Canadian. So that was another criticism of the previous program. Now, the new one, which will be launched in January 2024. The details are to be confirmed. We will have an updated session on this topic as soon as we can when we hear back. But so far, we know the following about the program. The intent to reside in Quebec is paramount. It's in the center of all this new version. You must intend to settle in Quebec permanently. That's the intention. Again, once you settle, the question becomes, okay, once I become PR and satisfy all the requirements, can I move to British Columbia? Well, constitutionally speaking, nobody can restrict you from moving around within the country. So Canada is one country, and as a Canadian, you can move and live in different places. So that's something to be discussed in the future. Let's see how Quebec government will enforce that intention in a way to make permanent residents of Quebec. Have a minimum net worth. Of course, this is an investor immigration program. You need to have a minimum net worth of 2 million Canadian dollars, verified with the legal sources. You can share this net worth with your spouse. If your spouse is rich and you have net worth, you can combine and have a family net worth of 2 million. And you must be able to demonstrate the legal origins and accumulation of your net worth. There will be a check and balances in that sense. How they will do it, not clear yet, but there will be a due diligence. If you have received grants less than 6 months prior to submitting your application, they cannot be included in your net worth. So if you received any grants or similar financial assistance, and you cannot use that within that period of time for your net worth calculations. Have management experience. You will have to have management experience. You must have at least 2 years of management experience. The experience must have been acquired within the 5 years preceding your application. It must include the following functions. That's planning, management, control of financial resources, control of human and material resources should be included in your management experience. So there's how it will be proved. We will confirm in January. What are the requirements in terms of documentation to prove your management experience? So intention to live, minimum net worth, and management experience. So more to that in terms of requirements is you need to enter into an investment agreement with financial intermediaries. Financial intermediaries will help you with the financing, and they have good relationship. They have them pre-selected by the Ministry of Immigration of Quebec, and they will facilitate your investment basically from your pocket to the government's pocket. Make a 5-year term investment. This is very interesting. The amount of investment has changed a little bit. Within 120 days of approval by Quebec Immigration, you need to make $200,000 contribution to Canadian government of Quebec. Very similar to other countries, right? You just contribute to the government fund, and later, that's the second stage, provide $1 million fully guaranteed 5-year investment in a government bond. So what I read here, maybe I'm wrong, but I will clarify in January 2024, that your contribution does not come back, but your $1 million fully guaranteed investment will probably return to you in 5 years, okay? So that $1 million government bond investment can be financed. So there will be banks offering you financing for that money. And of course, the financing cost will be lost if you go with the financing option. So I see two expenses in a way. One is your $200,000 contribution, which will not be returned, apparently, but we will confirm again. Don't quote me on that yet. And $1 million financing cost, which if you choose to finance, will also be your expense, which will not be refunded, okay? But if you give your $1 million without any financing, then that $1 million will be returned in 5 years without any interest accumulated on top of that. So how it will work, apparently, this is very, very interesting to me. Now, look, you will receive a 3-year open work permit first. There's no permanent residency right away, okay? There's basically a performance time period of 3 years. Within 2 years of the issuance of your work permit, you need to meet the 12-month residency requirement of living in Quebec. So, within the first 2 years, you need to spend 12 months, at least 12 months in Quebec, in that beautiful province. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it can be cold in wintertime, but I've been to Montreal, I've been to Quebec City, I've been to other beautiful places in Quebec. This is a great province to be. And I wonder why rich investors would like to choose somewhere else. But I like Quebec. So live in Quebec in your first 2 years, at least 12 months. You can combine that residence, 6 months you, 6 months your spouse. So there's a residency requirement can be done by combining 6 months of residency by the principal applicant and another 6 months by either the principal applicant or his or her spouse. Okay. You can, from 3 years, spend 12 months in Quebec. So that's the requirement in terms of performance. Education, of course, you need to have a secondary education certificate or diploma, and French language. This is where it comes, it's a new thing to me. French language, you have to have an intermediate level of French. So, vous devez parler français, un petit. So you have to have your French proven, maybe in a test. So French-speaking investors are welcome in the new program. Of course, you can also speak English, but French needs to be proven and demonstrated. So these are the requirements, and I find them interesting, and I look forward how these will be implemented. So let's see in the new year. My conclusions so far, looking at what I have, and according to my research of things known to us so far, but the government has not yet clarified many things. But the new QIIP, Quebec Immigrant Investor Program, is a work permit to permanent residence program. Very similar to other provincial nominee programs, right? So in other provincial nominee programs, you have work permit, here's your work permit, now perform. You have a performance agreement, which is basically an agreement between you and the province. You perform and then you are awarded PR. So that's very interesting. This is a new mechanism. Previously, it was just, okay, you got PR and so on. First come on a work permit, do what you promised to do, and then we will award you with permanent residence. That's the message I'm getting from the information I know so far. Major differences of the new program are the following. No active involvement in any business. Unlike other provincial nominee programs, this province's Quebec's Immigrant Investor Program is a bit different. You don't have to be involved in the business. You don't have to actively manage. All you have to do is to live in Quebec. You will have open work permit, right? 3-year open work permit. If you want to get busy, why not? If you can afford not to work, don't work. But if you want to work and do business, this allows you to do business. 3-year open work permit for you and your spouse, and your children will benefit from French educational system, and they can learn French, they can learn English, and the province has very good institutions, very good universities like McGill University, Université de Montréal, and other universities and colleges. So, and another difference, you have to speak French. But I don't think this is a big difference compared to other provincial nominee programs. You have to speak French. In other provinces, you can also speak French and do business. So in that sense, Quebec is not that different than other provinces. So you have to speak French. You have to prove. And you and your spouse have to live in Quebec for some time. You can combine. And from what I read here, your residency requirement, 12 months, I think, technically speaking, you can live 6 months in Quebec. You can also live 6 months in British Columbia or Ontario. But then again, how Quebec government will assess your intention. So that's the very technical, probably legalistic analysis that will be done. If you spend 6 months in Quebec and 6 months in British Columbia, how will government assess your intention? So we will see. There are so many question marks in my head, and I will update you in January. So, and also, if you finance, I mentioned that before, but I will repeat, if you finance that $1 million government bond investment, the financing cost, if you finance it from Canadian bank, that financing cost is gone, okay? So you should take it as is. If you finance, you will have to cover the cost of that financing. All right, that's my conclusion, my tips. So how you should prepare for the new Quebec Immigrant Investor Program. If you are a high net worth individual and you speak French, you have management experience, you have secondary education, if you're ready to move to Quebec and live in that province, at least until you become a PR, permanent resident, with your whole family, here are my tips for the applicants. Understand the requirements. Still, there are some unknowns, but get ready. Understand the requirements. Make sure you fully understand the eligibility criteria that I listed, and it will be updated by the government hopefully soon. Keep an eye on any changes or updates to the program's requirements for the January 2023 reopening. It will be reopened in January. Prepare your documentation. That takes some time. So your net worth evaluation. And the problem is maybe government will designate certain evaluators, net worth evaluators. Gather all necessary documentation in advance, proof of your net worth, business and management experience, identity documents. If you lost documents, try to get a duplicate and have the documents in hand, and any other paperwork required for the program. They must be accurate, up to date, and translated into French. Translated into French or English if necessary. Language proficiency. If you don't know French, maybe it's a good time to learn French, okay? Maybe it's a good time to learn. So while French language proficiency may not be a strict requirement, I think it will be a strict requirement. Having some proficiency in French can be advantageous, as Quebec is predominantly French-speaking province. I know they are pushing French language requirements very harshly, very in a determined manner, but maybe they will do some combination of French and English, I hope. But I doubt. With the current government in Quebec, they promote Francophone immigration. I think it will be very strict requirement. Hire a qualified, experienced immigration lawyer who has dealt with Quebec immigration previously or currently. They have experience in business immigration. Navigating the immigration process can be complex, and Sobirov's law firm is here to help if you want our help. Plan for settlement in Quebec. As I said, Quebec is a very beautiful province. La belle province, as we say here. Start planning your life in Quebec. At least some time of your residency will be spent in that beautiful province. This includes understanding the cost of living, education system if you have children, healthcare system, and other aspects of daily life. Enjoy your time in Quebec. And if you need any guidance on the upcoming new Quebec Immigrant Investor Program, we are here to help you, and in any other business immigration programs to Canada. We have rich experience and great team of professionals who will help you navigate and become proud Canadian in the near future. Now let's get to your questions. In a moment, let's take a quick break and I'll take your questions right away.
To stay updated on all things related to Canadian business immigration, check us out on social media. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest news and updates. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell to stay informed about the most recent immigration news, interviews with top immigration specialists, and our weekly live shows. Visit our website at www.sabirovs.com for more information or to book a consultation with our team of experts.
All right, your question time. As promised, every Wednesday I take your questions and I do my best to answer them. If I cannot answer them during live session, please leave the question as a comment, and I promise me or my team will get back to you, okay? So, Shepherd is asking a question. Can an applicant hire an Ontario immigration lawyer or consultant not licensed in Quebec for QIIP 2024 program? Yes, they can hire them. But Ontario lawyers like us, we get a special permit from the Quebec Bar Association to represent that client in that immigration application. Immigration is a federal matter, but it's a Quebec immigration at the moment. We will have to get a special certificate, which we can get very easily. We did it previously in the previous program. We can also get it and represent you before Quebec immigration authorities. So that's not a problem. Okay, thank you for the info. Yeah, I thank you for your participation. Which province is the best in terms of weather conditions and economic conditions for immigrants from warm climates? Well, okay, I'm very biased because I love Ontario. Okay, Ontario has all the seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. If you enjoy that kind of diversity in seasons, Ontario is the best, okay? But if you are more willing to spend your time with less snow, then British Columbia is preferred. But again, British Columbia, Vancouver, for example, a very popular destination for immigrants, is often referred to as Raincouver because it rains a lot. So I think when you move to Canada, be ready to embrace each and every type of weather, because in each season you have lots of activities, outdoor activities to do. In winter, I love go tobogganing and skiing and whatnot, like even hiking during winter. Yes, it's possible. We do hiking and playing hockey. In summer, summers are very hot in Ontario. We reach as high as 40, 45 degrees sometimes. Climate change, global warming is in a way has a silver lining in there, because the weather patterns are changing, unfortunately. But you will enjoy your stay in Canada, I'm sure. Alberta is another province that has very good weather. Of course, the more north you go, the more cold you will experience. But I think you should consider Ontario seriously, consider Quebec seriously, even Atlantic provinces if you like the sea and ocean, and British Columbia, Alberta. All the provinces have their own attractive moments and places. So I've been living in Canada for 20 years. I'm a proud immigrant and proud Canadian, and I've never complained about the weather. So we love the weather. So come over, you will have fun. Okay, how much I need to invest to get PNP PR in Prince Edward Island? Okay, Prince Edward Island business stream. Prince Edward Island requires at least 150,000 minimum 150,000 investment, but as you know, and I suggest as a lawyer, that minimum investment gives you minimum chances, okay? The more you invest, the more desirable you will become as an immigrant, as a business immigrant. So when we talk about bare minimum investment levels in any province, I suggest that you go beyond those minimums, okay? Don't just don't get stuck with the minimums. Say what you want to do. Do you really want to do that business in Canada, in that province? Can you do it? What is required in that type of business? For example, if you want to open a farm, manage a farm, farms are expensive, right? It's not just 150,000. Be realistic. talk to business immigration lawyers like us to come up with a realistic plan. Eligibility is okay. I'm not concerned about eligibility. Many people are eligible. They have $150,000, but I'm concerned about probability of success. So eligibility is a tricky word. I use it many times. Yes, you could be eligible and you can apply, but the probability of success, probability of being chosen, that's my concern. So don't go with minimums, go with as much as you can, okay? Another question is, what steps should be done to take tourist visa for applicants from Uzbekistan? What applicant needs to pay attention to? Thanks for the answer. All right, there are 4 factors in TRV, the temporary resident visa, which is tourist visa, as you mentioned. First is travel history. Have you been tourist in a developed country? Have you visited Europe, Asia, or other places? Have you been tourist overall? So you need to demonstrate that. Do you have enough finances to become a tourist? Tourists in Canada spend at least $100 per day. Can you finance your tourism activity in Canada? Third, ties to your home country. If you come as a tourist to Canada, what is that makes you go back to your home country? Do you have properties? Do you have family? Do you have other obligations and commitments? And the final is your credibility. Have you ever been rejected or have you ever been criminally charged? Your background, that's very, very important. So 4 factors, you have to pay attention to that. If you are a business owner, we help you to get TRV, temporary resident visa, to come to Canada to explore business opportunities. So if you are a business owner and investor, we can help you to get your tourist visa for the whole family. We helped them, we helped our previous clients successfully from Uzbekistan too, including Uzbekistan and many other countries that we have clients from. And these are 4 factors that you need to pay attention. And of course, each factor requires documentation, right? Documentation and proof. And all application is submitted online. And the only way you can communicate to the visa officer about your intentions, your background, is the documents that you provide. Yeah, right? The documentation package, the supporting documents should be meticulously done and prepared without any technical mistakes. All right, next one. Negar Muzaffari. Hello, Negar. Nice to see you again. You are very active in our shows. Thank you for that. What business proposal ideas will be available for an applicant with financial manager background for C10, C11? How about if he wants to buy a ready business? Well, I cannot say outright what would fit, but what I can say, Negar, is go to our website where we have a new page called Business and Investment Opportunities. We have pre-vetted, we have reviewed the available businesses for sale. That's where a person can go and say, okay, this fits me. This business is suitable for my background. And we can get more information about that business if that person is genuinely and seriously interested. So that's my response. Unfortunately, I cannot pinpoint what are the business ideas that fit with a person with a financial manager background, but I suggest that you go to our website, and if that person wants to talk to us, the best next step is to book a consultation. 1-hour strategy meeting with our senior lawyers will give you a wealth of information to you, Negar, and to that person who has that background in finance. Okay. Another question, how is PEI for living? Well, I visited PEI and we have a video about PEI. I think it's a very comfortable, very serene, very quiet place to live. It has a population of 170,000, but the population is increasing. It's a beautiful province. If you have a type of business that doesn't require local market, like for example, the PEI, the number of people, 170,000, maybe for your business is not enough. So you need to do a business that exports outside of PEI, right? A knowledge-based business or a produce that you export from outside. You target other markets. In terms of targeting other markets, PEI is very strategically located. It has access to sea, air, and roads. You can export your products from PEI, which you produce in a very inexpensive way, because it's more affordable to live there. The houses, I love the houses in PEI. They are mansions, basically, big houses, which I cannot afford in Toronto. So PEI has its own benefits. So go check our video about Prince Edward Island. We specifically went to the province to experience it for ourselves so that we can tell you something with certainty, okay? Now, next one. Where can I get information regarding approval, rejection rates for various PNP business programs for Ontario and British Columbia? Wow, that's a great question. The way you get it is if you have a Canadian friend, or if you are Canadian yourself, you should submit access to information request, what we call ATIP request. It costs you $5, and you ask the government, whether provincial or federal, you ask for that information from that relevant ministry. I would go with IRCC, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, the Federal Immigration Ministry, and ask them about this specific information. However, there's also open source, open data website where government regularly publishes certain reports in an Excel format. They can tell you how many applicants were done, and it's a bit historic, right? It's not, may not be up-to-date 2023 data, but you can see some trends and analyze it. We will try to find that link, and I will leave it. I will ask my assistant to leave that link to open data source from Government of Canada, where you can find those reports, and I hope that will help. If you cannot find that specific information, then you have to ask the request, ATIP request, access to information request. Okay. I think another one from Nikki. What about people do work from home, freelance job, are owned their own online store? I'm not following the question, but do affiliate marketing, what are the chances of home-based business in case like this? Oh, that's a great question. Well, if you do, I think it requires a lot of legal analysis. The company that you run, whether online or physically, what's the tax residency? If you move to Canada, do you want to incorporate and then use that incorporated business? So there are many moving parts in that question. Or if you want to come to Canada as a tourist and work for somebody as a digital nomad, do your business outside of Canada. But as long as you enter Canadian consumer market and labor market, you will have to get a work permit. I don't think for this Quebec Immigrant Investor Program, your background may not be fitting. Again, this is something to argue. If you have a team of specialists who work under your online business, then you may say, yeah, this is a realistic business, but it happens online. So some analysis need to be made. I cannot respond to that question, I'm sorry. But I suggest that you book a consultation and go in detail with to discuss this with a senior immigration lawyer at Sobirov's law firm, okay? Another one, hello, can you please talk about how to immigrate to Canada from the US as a business investor, and how long does the process take? Thanks. Well, we have a specific web page of immigrating from the US to Canada. We will leave the link under this video, but it's not enough time for me today to discuss all the options. Why don't you go and read that page? And we have some YouTube videos. We will also link it to this video under this video. And you will have a broad idea. Then once you have that broad idea of how to move from the US to Canada as an American citizen, I hope you have American citizenship, There are some ways. The most prominent, the most famous way is through NAFTA. What we call now a new NAFTA is called CUSMA agreement. We have that program. You can move as an investor to Canada, and we published many useful content about that. Once you review that content, I suggest that you book a strategy meeting with my team. Okay. Another one from A. Shepherd. What is the best path, C10, C11, C12, PNP, etc., for a US tech services company that wants to start a branch in Canada and wants to send new employees, okay, from a US parent company to run Canadian branch? That's a great question, and we have exactly the same scenario from our client frenzy.ai. Please go and watch their videos. They are a tech company in the US. They expanded to Canada and they hired a non-Canadian and non-American worker for their Canadian operations. But if you have your workers in the US that have been working for your US company for at least 12 months, you may have that option to transfer them to your Canadian branch, okay? Branch or subsidiary, you will decide it from the tax perspective, what is more efficient. But we have that scenario. We have a video from the CEO and co-founder of frenzy.ai. Please watch that video and you will have that idea. There are many ways to bring your tech talent from the US to your Canadian branch. Okay, another one. Comparatively, how difficult is Ontario for approval compared to Prince Edward Island or Alberta? Well, in terms of difficulty, I think Ontario is very popular, right? And Alberta is becoming very popular. Don't get me wrong, many people want to move to Alberta. In terms of very high competition, I think other provinces are more approachable, faster in response, faster in processing your application. From that perspective, I think you should include into your target list not only Ontario, not only British Columbia, not only Alberta, but also other provinces in the Atlantic, in the Maritimes, such as New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland and Labrador. So please consider them seriously too. In terms of difficulty, I think most popular provinces like Ontario and British Columbia will be difficult to compete with other applicants in terms of your minimum investment. Maybe you want to invest $500,000, but other people want to invest $5 million. So you may be in a disadvantage in that scenario. So go with the path of least resistance. That's my answer. Okay, I think that's it for today. I hope you find it very useful, this content. If you do find it useful, please consider to subscribe and follow us in all social media channels. We do this kind of sessions every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. For those who don't know, we are here to help and hope to see you next time. Take good care. Au revoir.